Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our Author Talk series. I am so excited. Those of you who might not know who I am, I'm Amy Zelmer. I am editor-in-chief of Midwest Yoga Magazine and the Minnesota Yoga Conference. And today we have Julie Afsahi and Jessica Cross, and they are authors of Seasons of Sound. And my little Vanna White moment. Um, so thrilled to have you two here. I'd love to have each of you just give us a brief overview of who you are and what you do. So maybe Julie, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. We're so happy to be here. So I'm Julie Afsahi, and I own Soul Strong Yoga, which is in Round Rock, Texas, right outside of Austin. Jessica is actually also a yoga teacher at Soul Strong and a trainer, and leads lots of sound baths and trainings. And I am lucky enough that I get to do that with her. And then we also were so fortunate in being great friends who also got to co-author together Seasons of Sound.
All right. And Jessica, a little bit about you.
Oh, thank you so much again for having us, Amy. We're so thrilled to be here. And yeah, so just as Julie said, we're yoga teachers, we're sound practitioners, and also really good friends and co-authors. I think that honestly, the honor and the fortune is on my part to be a teacher at Soul Strong Yoga in Round Rock, Texas, because I'm sure there's lots of studio owners or other studio affiliates listening right now. But I feel like Soul Strong is the best. I know we all have our favorites, but I feel so fortunate to be in that community because it's truly unique and special. And I'm so glad because they have lifted me up in so many ways. And I think it's a mutual co-creation zone. We're always coming up with new ideas. And ways to practice together. So it's just an honor to be able to share sound healing there.
Well, I'd love to dive into how you came to collaborate on the book. Obviously, you guys work together, you teach together, you're friends. Um, but I mean, publishing a book is no small feat. Like, I totally know what it's like to birth out a book. Um, so what was that like to come at it as a duo and doing this together?
Yeah, so this is Julie, and it just kind of came about organically. Jessica has longer than me led sound healing trainings. And over the years, honestly, every sound training I went to of hers, not just myself, but many of the attendees would say, Jessica, just write a book, write a book. You've got to write a book. And the training materials just continued to grow and grow and grow. And her manual kept getting bigger. And it was like, you should really write a book. And then somehow, I don't know how, I got wrapped into the whole thing. And I was really excited to be able to write this with Jess. My background particularly is in the gong. So Jess is also an incredible gong player. So I was so happy to be able to kind of come in and write about the gong. And then also Jess and I both have long backgrounds in mindfulness, meditation, and yoga. So we really were able to collaborate and bring together just kind of years of our own teaching. And then we, through just talking and collaborating and brainstorming, came up with the idea of seasons and aligning it to the sacred syllable Om. Jess, do you have anything to add to that?
Oh,
Oh,
you're
you're
muted.
muted.
The good old mute button, right? I'm laughing over here, and it's probably a good thing I was on mute because I was laughing quite a lot. Julie tells this story so frequently that she was fortunate to be roped in, and yes, yeah, did create some training materials ahead of time that were the foundation. But she's such a big part of this in her own right, so she should be a little less humble. I think in that regard. But yeah, we were frequently asked about a book. And, one of the things that I think is so interesting is also, we see this with our yoga community too, is the amount of female practitioners and female sound healers is vast. And we know the numbers. The Yoga Alliance does a study I think every 4 or 5 years where they study the number of practitioners. It's overwhelmingly women. And I find, as I was pulling together resources for my own trainings, just how many men are the ones writing the books, which we
Hmm.
love.
Yes.
And we also feel it's so important that our voices are also heard. So we're happy to be at the forefront of women authors in the sound healing space. And we hope and continue to hope that more people will step up to hear the call to write books, share resources in sound healing, share resources in the yoga community, because our voices matter and we need to take up space. So we're
Mm,
glad to be a part of that.
absolutely. Oh, I love that. Um, and so, you both have kind of mentioned that you brought the seasons into it, which I think is kind of beautiful because that kind of flows into like Ayurveda, and the sister science of yoga. So, um, tell us a little bit about the seasons and how that's woven into the book.
Amy, you know us well. We were definitely heavily influenced by Ayurveda as well as Nada Yoga, which is the yoga of sound. So it was kind of a culmination of the two coming together. Um, so in our book, Seasons of Sound, we really just talk about regardless of if it's like an earth season or a season of your life. So if just metaphorically you feel as if you're in the season of spring, sometimes actually this time of year, in this metaphor can feel like spring because a lot of times in January it's like the birth of new ideas and things
Yeah.
like that. But perhaps this is like the season of winter to you. Maybe it's darker where you live and it's really time for rest. So either way, whether it's your actual Earth season or a season of your life, we wanted to offer practical tools for individuals to cultivate the feelings of the season and, really like the emotions associated with that season and the healing needed in that season and nurturing. But also, we wanted people who are sound practitioners who lead sound baths to have ways to theme their sound baths to create really unique and special offerings for their communities. So we included mudra, pranayam, guided meditation, even journaling, and ways to even like theme and decorate the room. That aligned with the seasons. And a lot of that too came from just our own sound baths that we had been offering. We quite often were using these same ideas, but definitely heavily influenced by Ayurveda for sure.
Did you have anything to add to that, Jessica?
I think Julie put such a fine point on it too. We love to theme our sound baths. It adds that additional layer. I feel that really takes the experience home for our attendees. Weaving in the seasons is very approachable as well. We all experience Earth seasons, even if you're on the other side of the world. When you're
Mm-hmm.
listening to this, you can relate to the seasons, even if they're flipped. And I think knowing too that no matter what the world is experiencing, we have our own personal seasons, and we feel that the book helps folks remember that you can customize your practice no matter what's going on around you, because your personal season is really the guiding force behind your
Mm-hmm.
practice.
Mm-hmm. And I love so I'm gonna try and flip to a page. I just love the layout of the book and the graphics you have throughout the book and the cover too, right? Like you've got all the beautiful graphics on the cover. And I just love how it's laid out very oh, here's a good one. Welcome, welcome spring. Um, And it's very well, like they're just short little chapters. They're actionable, like gong playing techniques and um, flip to another one, Introduction to Singing Bowl Mallets, right? Like, so who would you say your intended audience is? Is it someone who is already a sound healer, or someone who's thinking of becoming a sound healer, or just a general practitioner? All of the above?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I think we had two audiences in mind when we wrote the book. One is for the sound enthusiast. Maybe they're curious, they want to know more. Maybe they have that little singing bowl at home that's just collecting dust on the
Hmm.
mantle, and they're curious about, I've always wanted to learn how to
Guilty.
play it, but yeah, I know, right? So common. It's so common. The sidebar, my husband is a filmmaker, and he was filming yesterday, and he told me the locations they were at had a beautiful mantle, and right in the middle of it was a singing bowl, and nobody knew how to play it. So it's very, very common. We want to speak to that person who is curious but isn't exactly sure how to start, and we want to give very clear and approachable action. So there's lots of complicated techniques out there too. And we feel like we wanted to demystify a lot of that so that people could get started right away. We also want to secondarily, and also equally as important, we speak to those who are sound practitioners or who are seeking that certification. We wanted to give them a firm framework. Understanding the science behind sound is so important. Understanding how Nada yoga plays into the modern sound healing world is incredibly valuable and arguably something that's not particularly talked about in a
Yeah.
lot of the sound bath circles and with classical practitioners. I think that's a missing piece. So we wanted to be very thoughtful and try to put it all in a very easily understood little package.
Hmm. Yeah,
That
Julie,
was
did
the
you?
challenge. Yeah. The easily understood package. I think I hope it comes across. We wanted this to be a user-friendly book. I think just based on the fact that we've studied yoga, studied meditation, and the goal of this was really for anyone to be able to pick it up and learn something new. Um, and so we spent a lot of time on the organization of the book and found that Om so beautifully aligned with the seasons, the four parts of Om. So it was so wonderful to have these like foundational pieces of the text to write from. Um, and we know also it's not um, the largest text, of all time, but also we felt this is a book that we wanted people to be able to leave in their meditation space, open to a page and find something that they could focus on for that meditation, regardless of how much time they had. And then also something that's very easy to bring with you if you're a sound healer to your sound bath. We do this quite a bit. We'll just have a page marked with a little bookmark and open to that page and then use the meditation to guide the sound bath. So you can see she has all of her tabs there on her book.
Yep.
So we just really wanted it to be a very user-friendly book. And we were so fortunate too with the graphics. I can't even draw a stick figure. So a lot of yoga teachers, draw
Same, same.
little figures for their sequences. That has never been me. And Jessica did such a wonderful job finding a really terrific graphic designer and artist for the book. So we were really fortunate in that. But also, you'll see too, the book has a heavy influence from Judith Lassiter. So you'll see there's like restorative postures because in our own sound healing practice, we found that people really feeling comfortable in this space and taking a little extra time to position themselves and not feel like they just have to lay flat on the yoga mat and be uncomfortable with their sore back or head. really shifts the experience for them and their nervous system in particular. So you'll see too, there's a pretty heavy influence from um, Dr. Judith Hanson Lassiter.
And so maybe let's even just talk about that for a moment and how sound can impact our nervous system and how powerful sound really can be. And also, at my last conference, we had a closing sound bath, and several people asked, "Is there going to be a gong?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do believe there is." She has the crystal bowls, but then she also has a gong. And they're like, "We can't handle the gong." So they left. And I was like, "Oh, interesting." So I don't know. That was a lot right there. But talking a little bit about sound and how maybe some of the sounds don't work for everyone.
This is such a fun thing to talk about. And I'm also going to loop Julie into because she always has such wonderful things to say about the gong. I think there's a lot of science in the book, even though it's kind of in a bite-sized formula. We wanted to make sure people really were able to grasp it in easily understood terms so that also for our sound practitioners, they could articulate it as well to
Yeah.
people who are coming in and experiencing sound. So we talk a little bit about the specific science. And one thing that I'd like to highlight from the book is the concept of entrainment. So entrainment is when our nervous system, our brain entrains or attaches to a specific frequency, a sound, and it can help us engage parts of our nervous system. So in this case, in a sound healing session, and particularly in our sound baths, we're looking to engage our parasympathetic portion of our autonomic nervous system. So we're playing in a slow, predictable manner. We've also ideally introduced the instruments ahead of time. So if you're seeing that gong behind me and you're like, is she going to hit that thing super hard and I'm not going to be ready for it? We've already introduced it to you so that you have a little bit more of that balm on the nervous system that it's going to come in at a certain time. It's going to be a certain volume and she's going to be playing, very calmly. So we create that space for entrainment by, creating comfort, as Julie was mentioning, with postures, playing in a slow, particular manner, very predictable way. And also introducing the instruments ahead of time. So we create this kind of cocoon, if you will, so our parasympathetic nervous system can be engaged. Where we all know, if we're yoga teachers, yoga enthusiasts who are listening, we're like, we know so much about the parasympathetic that that's really where we're looking to engage in our classes and our meditation classes. The opposite can be true. So if you're going to, let's say, a rock concert and you're listening to music pumping through the speakers and it's at a faster pace, we feel the sympathetic engage. So we're in training to that higher level of sound that is going to uplift us. We might feel a greater sense of community with people that are singing along. We might feel energized in some way. So the sympathetic also has its benefits. But in the sound healing session, we're really looking for that rest and digest.
Mhm.
And I love what you shared about your experience at the conference with the gong, because that's one that we hear and see very frequently. So I want to pass it to Julie, and she's going to talk a little bit about the gong and then maybe what she thinks about the crystal bowls, or at least used to.
Questions, Jessica. No, it's like reminds me just like the evolution of the mosh pit. When we talk about like rock, heavy metal versus a sound bath or something. Yeah, like lots of activity. This parasympathetic nervous system is nowhere to be found sometimes at a rock concert. I think with the gong specifically, I don't want to say anything controversial here, but I do think it also depends on the player and the experience someone has had. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I found like over the years, just like Jessica said, what's been so helpful, we do a very trauma-informed introduction at all of our sound baths. So we talk even very simply about where is water, where are the exits. You are never glued to your yoga mat. If you would like to sit up and see what we're doing at any time, like this is your comfy, safe space.
Yeah.
Do whatever you need to do. So overall, I think when you set the tone that way, people feel a lot less fear in their bodies, which is exactly what we're looking for.
Mm.
So really giving people freedom of movement and to just take good care of themselves is key. Because when you are staring at a gong, and if you've heard someone whack a gong over and over, it can be very triggering. So what we do is we do our introduction, starting with the basics. And then we also give a sampling while everybody's eyes are open and we're seated up and can see what's going on. We do a sampling of how these instruments will sound and how we are going to play. So I show like, this is the way that I play the gong, and then I'll play the gongs for them. And it's nothing like the gong show, or if you're coming from the tech industry and they like whack the gong when you make certain
Yeah,
sales.
yeah.
So I would say if any sound healers are listening to us and you do this too, let us know, because it has like changed the tone of our sound baths in such an awesome way. So I mean, we really don't even have some of the issues that you're talking about that we used to have as early on in sound healing, where I did have students that were like, I don't like the gong, I'm gonna go sit back here. And I didn't know, like, oh, Julie, you can just play the gong in your introduction so that people know how you play and how it's going to sound. So that has really been a game changer
I
for
love
us.
that.
Yeah, refining the intro has been awesome. And then also for me, I think with the crystal singing bowls, I have a neuromuscular disease and it comes with tinnitus and ringing. So early on in my, just as a student and a client, like going to sound baths, it was reminding me of these sounds that I would hear. And I was triggered, and I didn't realize at the time that's what was happening. Hearing those high pitched sounds, my nervous system was like, oh my gosh, this is
Yeah.
just going to be so bad for you. And once, because of experience, I love the crystal singing bowls now. I can't even tell you how difficult it is to lead a sound bath with Jessica, because I literally zone out while she's playing. And I'm like, Julie, get with the program. Like, you are going to have to play in a minute.
You
So
have
now
to
my
do
nervous
something
system,
here.
yes, nervous system's so familiar with the sound. And I think that's part of it, is just having a familiarity helps so much. But we've all heard those gong players too, that just
Yeah, yeah.
very
And
effectively.
the crystal bowls too, like, you know, I've heard people like when they start to kind of screech that you've played them a little too far, and um that sound is just like nails on a chalkboard a little bit. So, yeah. Any
Yes.
any any instrument can be played incorrectly. So,
That is a
Yes.
valid point. Because my son was
Yes.
playing the recorder last night, the plastic recorder, and I was like, it's wonderful, but my ears hurt so badly.
I lived in an apartment building and one of my neighbor's daughters was learning the clarinet. And
He played that.
she wasn't great at it, right? She was middle school, and the neighbor slipped a note under her door like, "Can you maybe not And I mean, I don't know. I get both sides of that. Like, it's their home, they're entitled to play their clarinet, but it is hard to listen to when it's not done well. Oh,
Yeah, so relatable.
yep.
But that's a big part of what we teach in our sound trainings too. And I think that is what I love about Jessica's playing, is she's so smart and strategic about playing at a slow pace, and then also not uh, ever letting it ring out in a way that's uncomfortable for the listener.
Yeah.
So I think she has it really down to a science. And I think our students too really appreciate it, because they want a calming experience as well as the player.
Yeah.
So that's a
And
lot of the technique that we teach.
And I love, coming at it from the trauma informed standpoint. Like, everything really should be um, trauma informed. And, like you were saying earlier, giving people permission if they have to get up and leave or move or whatever. Um, you know, Same with, closing your eyes. Like, you don't tell people to close your eyes. You just invite them if they feel comfortable. And that I think so many people have had poor experiences, whether in a yoga class or sound bath. And so, getting this out there and helping people understand how to be a better practitioner and instructor. Um, and so, what are some final thoughts that you guys have around your book that you would like to share? Maybe each of you can share like your favorite section in the book. Like, what's your favorite thing that you worked on in here?
Oh my goodness. I have to pick one.
Trick question, I know.
Great question. I gosh, it was such a joy to write this with Julie. We had so much fun iterating
I love
and the
that.
ideation process. Yes, it truly is a joy. And I think Julie says this, I'm going to rip it off from her. But she says, if you have the opportunity to write a book with your friend, do it because
Yeah.
it's a life-changing process. So therefore makes the question super hard to choose. I love so many things about the book. I love the integration of mudra and the affirmations in each of the seasons. I think the meditations are really beautiful too. And I love a particular practice. I love them all, but Julie, her gong practices are incredible. She spent a lot of time and creativity in bringing her technique in, as well as playing in ways that we don't typically see. And it's so interesting, and it invites such interesting sound. It's so calming to the nervous system, and it plays in really well. I'm specifically thinking about the summer season. So if you're curious, get the book and go to summer and look at the gong section. And if you're interested in gongs or you have one, maybe try it, and let us know what you think. But I guess that was a lot of things. It's supposed to be my one favorite,
Yeah.
but I'll limit it to that.
For
Julie.
me, yeah, I agree with everything Jess said. Absolutely. We had such a blast writing the book and collaborating. And we're, love to do things in extra hard mode. So we had a training set and we were like, it doesn't matter what happens. We have to have this ready to go. Like everyone's depending on us. We've told them we're writing this book. So we always joke we did this in extra hard mode. And I was traveling at the time and literally writing parts on like handwritten on napkins, train, like on the train, writing on napkins, writing on any paper I could find because ideas would just come to me. And it was so much fun to take all of that and then just like write it all together. Um, but really for me, what I loved writing all of it. And like I said, the organization of it, it really clicked with both Jessica and I. And we've used this book so much as our own practical resource. And it's made our sound bath so easy going in. We just are like, okay, like, let's look at spring or let's look at winter together. And it has really I can't think of another word other than easy. It's like we just go in and we know what we're doing and we have the meditation and we have journaling prompts for everyone. But in particular, I really enjoyed writing and learning more about the history of sound healing. Um, that I really felt like we had a lot of fun with. And then, we really tried to filter it down so that it was like the whole book we tried to make like bite-sized pieces,
Mhm.
but even with that there was a lot of research and reading and into the science of sound that we did literally reading books, larger books than our own to really feel like we had a very good understanding of what we were talking about. So that was a lot of fun, particularly the history and the science. I think I couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah, and the bite-sized chunks, that's what I really love is, you can just pick a chapter and read it in a few minutes. Um, and also the fact that you've really laid it out simply for a sound bath provider to like have a whole lesson plan, so to speak, right? Like, well, let's see, I'll pick one for this week. I think that's a really beneficial part of this book. And it it's not a huge book, right? It's easily digestible and it's beautiful. I just have to say that again. I love your cover design. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, I love, and it fits nice in your hand. Um, I'm very tactile. Like I love a good book, right? Like I'm not a e-reader. Like I just can't do Kindle Nook. Like nope, gotta have my hard. And you can tell the books that I love because they're usually got the warped edges because I've read them at the pool or in the bathtub.
Right. It's so true. Yeah, we're the same. I'm definitely like a tactile book kind of person. We also the cover choice is also very nice in your hand.
Hmm.
But we also do have it on Kindle for our folks who are interested and really want
Yep.
to read on the go. So we try to reach everybody.
Yeah. And so if people want to learn more, your website is seasonsofsoundbook.com. And are you guys also on Instagram, social media?
Yes, we are. Yes, you can find me at Sound for Stress on all of the platforms. And always reach out if you have questions or if you happen to, read something in the book or you do go check out the Gong summer practice, do let us know. Tag us and we'll share. And then Julie.
Yeah, you can find me at Soul Strong Yoga on Instagram. I'm, super active on Instagram and then really all the places as well. SoulStrongYoga.com, Facebook. Most importantly, if you're ever in Round Rock, Texas, come see us at the studio. We would love to see you and invite you in.
Amazing. Well, thank you both so much for being here and being part of our Author Talk series. It's just been a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you for the opportunity. It's been so nice meeting you, and we hope to stay connected.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you again next month.